Hello everyone, Mark Major here at the Action Figuratorium, and look at that production value in lower thirds. You can't beat it, folks. This is the show that you want to be tuning into. Now, some of you know that I am a real big toy collector. I'm also a sales and marketing guy. I spent years out on the killing floor selling electric and acoustic guitars to people. Then I moved into selling CRM software. That stands for Customer Relations Management. That is what sales and marketing people use to track their sales, which meant that I had to sell to salesmen, which is quite brutal. For the past 10 years, I have been running a video studio in Milwaukee, Oregon, and my customers are kind of split between guys who make music videos, i.e. people doing marketing of bands and artists, as well as agencies doing sort of infomercial teleprompter reads, which are essentially marketing agencies. So that means I have to now market to marketers. So I always have a bit of an opinion when it comes to sales and marketing. Now today I'm going to be doing a reaction video to a video made by Matt at Nerdzoic, where he goes over 7 mistakes that his online toy store has made. For those of you that don't know, Matt is a YouTuber who decided to open his own toy store, run it out of his basement with his wife. I've been watching their adventures for some time, and it's quite interesting. Of course, I always wish Matt the best and hope his business is successful. So this is going to be an interesting kind of fun take to see how Matt is doing on his current state of running the Nerdzoic online toy store. So you guys are going to want to stick around for this. Okay, I have headphones ready to go so that I may listen without any interference whatsoever. Hope you guys are ready. Let's go full screen. Let's switch over. All right, so I've skipped the intro. We're going to get into the 7 lessons learned. This sounds like it might be like an Ingmar Bergman film. I don't know. Let's see what we got here.
Which is surprisingly hard to say. So mistake number 1 is carrying product that you just can't make money on. So this is going to be the McFarlanes, Mattels of the world, Super 7, Bandai, and honestly, I'll probably talk more about those in a future video, why you can't make money on them, because the reasons are a little bit varied, but I spent so much time in the beginning just being like, I need to get everything, and I was carrying things where I just couldn't make any money on it. Or even worse, I was almost guaranteed to lose money on it. Now it's funny, I might make this mistake again in the very near future, because as we grow, I have so many like hardcore collector customers that I might need to add these back to the store, or in the case of Super 7, bring them in for the first time so that people can have like a one-stop shop to get all.
Okay, so this is quite interesting. Matt here knows that to be a store, you have to carry a bunch of stuff. You can't just be a guy who sells razors. You got to sell the shaving cream. Even if you don't make any money on the shaving cream, you got to have it. The fact that he acknowledges that it's a loser, right, a lost leader for him, but that he knows you have to have a full range of stuff so that you can snag people who are going to buy these other things, who are buying this other stuff that you do make money on, shows that I think that Matt is going in the right direction. So let's keep going. Number 1,
other figures at Nerdzoic. Branding. Another piece of this mistake is that I would often early on carry product that I just didn't like. And what I've learned is that if I don't like it, odds are my core audience isn't going to like it either. And the greatest example of this is Funko Pops.
Okay, so obviously, we hear the next part. He's going to tell you that Funko Pops don't sell. Recently, there has been an article about how they buried, I don't know how many dollars worth of unsold Funko Pops into some desert next to the unsold Atari ET cartridges, that kind of thing. Funko Pops are going to be the next scam on eBay, similar to the Disney Black Diamond VHS tapes. For those of you that don't know about that, I have made a video on that where what it is these Disney tapes are absolutely everywhere. Thousands and thousands of them. You can find them, piles of them at garage sales. People are strapping them to their feet for snowshoes in the winter. And what happens is people put them on eBay for like $5,000. They make a dummy account that then buys it. They don't ever exchange the money. They cancel the money. But if you do a search, you'll see that, oh, this, Black Diamond series Pinocchio sold for, $5,000. And then it's part of a con man thing where you meet somebody and you show them the numbers on eBay, and then you say, hey, I've got one of these Little Mermaid VHS tapes that my mom owns, and they sell for $4,000-$5,000. I'll give you this one for $100 or something like that. You're going to see that exact same scam model played out with people who have rooms full of Funko Pops. So that is a bit of a side note, and it is coming. We will see that.
I sunk and lost so much money on Funko Pops, it's messed up. In order to liquidate the last of my stock, I actually just bought it myself and donated it to Toys R Tots because it wasn't ever going to sell even at half off. I'll kind of put...
that was a tough lesson to learn, to buy a bunch of Funko Pops and have them not come in. Remember, the thing about Funko Pops, people, is that originally you had the Hello Kitty, big head, little body shape thing. And from that, we end up with Kubrick, Bear Brick, Key, Q-E-E, and Kid Robot. And from that, we get Mighty Mugs. From Mighty Mugs, we get Funko Pops. You should know by now that it's just not going to be the train that you're going to ride all the way.
Wrestling figures in here too, even though, honestly, this might surprise you, but WWE figures are one of my 2 or 3 top favorite things to collect personally, but carrying them in the store was a disaster.
I'm a little surprised that the WWE stuff didn't sell as well. It seems like there's a lot of collectors, but those also might seem to be guys who are used to going out to Targets and Walmarts and buying them, so...
Because my audience does not watch wrestling, apparently. At the very least, they don't collect the figures. And I should have known this because anytime I make wrestling content on the channel, it does terribly. So the lesson learned here is that venturing out must be done very carefully. My second mistake, we're just going to call it ordering fails, put it under one umbrella here. And there's been a lot of these. And honestly, it's funny because I think that this is my strength, and our strength as a company is my knowledge in going in and ordering, and not too much, not too little, etc. But that doesn't mean I haven't made a ton of mistakes. But here are some of the biggest ones. First off, underordering. I have been a serial underorderer of NECA and 4 Horsemen for a very long time, and I just recently got it right. NECA probably thinks I'm crazy because I went from like, I'll take 4 cases of each thing to I'll take 20 cases of each thing like overnight. Same thing goes with 4.
Okay, so he's feeling out the supply and demand of his audience. I think that's great. That's very smart. You always look to see what's selling, and if it's selling, you get more.
Horseman, I've pretty much 4x my order size in the last like 5 months alone. And I'm still too small on 4 Horseman orders. Like, I just can't seem to get those right. Those are kind of happy mistakes in that, sure, they cost me money. It was only a cost of opportunity cost. Then there is the one-off ordering mistakes where I just made a boo-boo. So first off, the Marvel Legends Ghost Rider, when they came in stock at my one distributor, I'm like, oh yeah, I could probably use a few more cases, so I ordered 32 figures. I thought I ordered 32 figures, that is. I actually ordered 32 cases.
All right, that's a bit of a faux pas.
And this isn't just like my initial delivery, this was my final where I'm like, yeah, let's add a couple more cases to the end. Luckily, that mistake had a happy ending because those are all long gone. They all sold to my...
Sometimes, Matt, you get lucky, dude. Sometimes you get lucky.
I thought I was going to end up with Ghost Riders till the end of eternity, but surprisingly, no. Speaking of figures I'll have till the end of eternity would be the Black Panther Legacy Kitty figure. All right.
That's a bummer mistake to make. Getting stuck with any Marvel toys. I see unsold Marvel toys, at all the Goodwills here in Portland. They are unsold from Targets. They go to the salvage company when they don't sell, and then they end up at thrift stores.
So hear me out. I thought that when I bought this, I was buying the Black Series Legacy Collection figure. And I'm like, oh wow, this is a great Marvel Legends at a discount. Only $9? Sure, yeah, give me, I don't know, give me 32 of them. Oh boy, I didn't buy that. I bought the little kitty version. I can't even sell it for less than what I paid for it. So this is what we call a loss. Speaking of losses, the Throne Room Deluxe Black Series Boba Fett figure. I went haywire on this. I ordered like a couple hundred of these things thinking, oh man, another Deluxe Boba Fett? Everybody's gonna want this. And it was really popular. But apparently Hasbro also got the memo that it was gonna be really popular, and they printed the hell out of these.
Okay, so this is pretty common where there is oversupply of something. And as a result of the high supply, the price is going to obviously come down. I pointed this out a couple years ago with Galactus. When they did the HasLab Galactus, they sold like 33,000 units. And as you know, the majority of the people who bought them saw what happened with things like the Sentinel and, you know, things like the Jabba the Hutt skiff, where like you bought it and it just magically doubled, tripled, quadrupled in price, and so you think, I'm just going to buy tons and tons and tons of these Galactus because they're all going to triple. And what happened was they're actually, minus the Heralds, they're selling for about what people paid for them at HasLab, and in some cases even less.
Things. They are everywhere. I have 50 of them still to sell. Last I looked, they were on sale on Amazon for like $12. So I'm stuck with Throne Room Boba Fett. So I guess you guys know it's going to be in a mystery box one of these days. Mistake number 3 is having a system for managing.
All right, so regarding the mystery box, I think that you could do a marketing type of program where it's a subscription, kind of like a Loot Crate. People pay, and then once a month they get like a mystery figure or something like that, and you could use unsold figs to sort of prop that up, get rid of your junk that way. People might figure out that they're paying for all the junk, and so maybe you have to come clean and call it your Get the Junk Out program and just say, look, you pay for the subscription and whatever's not selling, you get that, but you get it for cheap, that kind of thing. I don't know. I think if you're honest about it and you did something like that, it might help move a couple more units.
Figure condition. Now initially when we started up, we didn't even check each figure. Like we just were like, yeah, I'm sure most of the things are going to be mint, and if we get anything near mint, we'll sell them on eBay. Yeah, that didn't work out. Eventually, very soon in, we had to create a 3-tier system of minty fresh, near mint, banged up, and we had to get into the habit of checking everything as soon as it came in. And let me tell you, it's a lot harder to check this than you can imagine. You know, you're used to, as a collector, going into a store, if you're a mint in box collector, and just being like, all right, looks good, cool. And you never usually get home and say, hey, I missed this. But when you check 100 of the same thing over and over and over again, your eyes just start playing tricks on you. I also didn't really want to just be like the copy of Big Bad Toy Store and do their tier system, so I changed it up a little bit. Like, we don't charge more for gem mint, and the main reason for this is I almost never see gem mint figures. It's a whole market I don't really want to get into because it's so subjective. That's why when someone asks for gem mint, I'll be like, here is some pictures of the one that I think is gem mint. You tell me. People will get back to me, and some of them will be like, well, of course that's gem mint. Other ones will be like, that looks terrible. How did you not see this, this, and this? And even going back, I won't even see it. So yeah, condition checks are kind of a pain in the butt, but it's an important part of our business. So
this was something that I was kind of, I would call myself naive about, although I do order stuff from Big Bad Toy Store, and I have seen their kind of, you know, you can pick, you know, 2 different types of packaging. It's basically for people who don't care about the packaging because they're just going to open it anyways. In some cases, people may even throw the packaging away. On some stuff, I actually do that. There are some toys out there that are just such garbage, so cheap, that you don't keep the packaging. So I can totally, I know what's going on here, but I didn't think it was to this extent. So this is kind of an interesting thing that I sort of learned.
had to create a system. And we have a pretty good one now where we check everything when it comes in. It gets graded either minty fresh, which is our standard grade, near mint, or banged up. Mistake number 4 was our inefficient and stupid shipping processes. Our shipping processes have changed a ton over time. Now, the way we pack hasn't really changed all that much in that we still make sure everything's packed super well and take our time with it. However, what we learned early on was that our systems meant like each order takes 10 or 15 minutes. And it was impossible to train other people, let alone just making sure that we are consistent ourselves. So over time, we created systems and we changed our processes to what they are today. And we've been using these processes for a little bit over a year now. Some of the things that we learned early on to cut out was we used to stamp all the boxes with a fragile stamp. It's kind of funny, our US...
So this is actually kind of true. If you, the minute you tell someone that your package is valuable or fragile, these carriers, UPS, FedEx, whatever, they want to destroy it. They'll just... I've heard stories where they shipped like a giant, like 1-to-1 scale Darth Vader statue, and the guys at UPS did what they could with the forklift so that they could look inside the box. They actually damaged it on purpose.
UPS guy, Larry, shout out Larry, he was like, hey, you guys might not want to do that because people at distribution plants, when they get all this stuff in and sort it, when they see fragile, it's like a sign that says, kick me. It's just interesting. But yeah, no more fragile stickers or stamps anymore. Another thing I did early on was I tried to limit box sizes. I had a box for single figures, a box for 3 to 4, and a box for everything else. That was not smart. I think we're up to like 24 different box sizes because Mrs. Nerdy is insane and wants to have a size for pretty much everything. That's a good thing. You know, having a good box size means that the figure's going to be in there correctly and that it's going to be tight, which means it's going to arrive safely. So I'll let her have her 27,000 box sizes. I'm okay with that. We also made the mistake early on of picking to order. So it's like, hey, here's 30 orders to pack. Okay, this order has a Black Series and a Legends. Let's go get it. Walk over there, go get it, bring it back to the shipping table. Way too much time. Now we use order picking bins, which I learned from working in warehouses. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. These are the same bins I used at my last job. So now with these bins, we just go, we print our packing slips, and we go pick all the orders at once. That way, when you're shipping, you're not wasting steps. You're standing right there, your orders are right here, you go boom, 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 done, go to the next one. And we've got it down to a process where we can pick and pack about 13 to 14 orders an hour per shipper. We keep working on improving that number because it improves our efficiency and means that we can grow faster. Another part of that is our shipping tables over time have changed so much. We started off, I kid you not, with a plastic Sam's Club folding table. From there, we moved to a ghetto makeshift restaurant shelf with a piece of wood on it that I called a shipping table. Finally, our 3.0 setup, which we have now, I think I paid like $1,000 for this thing shipping table. Now this thing's a beast. Our problem now is that we probably are almost at the point where we need to have a second shipper, whether it's me shipping with Anna or we hire an employee, and we don't have room for another table.
That's not your employee.
Space used to be a bigger issue though, because we used to buy our bubble wrap and air pillows already done. Could not fit in the front door. It came in 8 feet tall and 5 foot wide bins. And it wasn't heavy like you'd expect something that big to be. It was just bulky. I had to get rolled into the garage because I couldn't get it in any other way. And then you had to pull it apart and take each roll down. And it was a pain in the butt. The air pillows came in trash bags. We'd have 15, 20 trash.
When I was in college in the early 90s, I ended up working for this t-shirt company that sold both licensed and unlicensed rock and roll shirts, and I was the sort of de facto shipping manager because there was nobody else but me there. And I want to say that there was a few summers where I stood in a hot warehouse and I folded and shipped a lot of t-shirts, people.
Bags at any time.
So I feel your pain, my man. And I run an eBay account. You know, the space in my house that is used up for boxes, packing material, and tape and stuff like that, you just lose that. You just automatically lose that space. You're never going to get it back. The only way you're going to get it back is if you just quit your business. So I feel the pain.
In our garage full of air pillows, Larry the mailman was ready to kill us because he had to deliver these things, but you couldn't deliver more than like 2 at a time because it took up the entire mail truck. And Honestly, they were expensive. We were paying to have air shipped. I don't know why it took me so long, but we eventually switched to an air pillow machine. And Anna blows up her pillows each day, along with her bubble wrap. So now, super easy, not as expensive, things still get there safe. I am always looking for ways to cut down the cost of shipping though, so that I can pass it on to the customers. One of the ways I was doing this early on was by offering what I called eco-friendly shipping, where I would reuse boxes and use like random stuff to fill them with. And I would tell people that, hey, this is for you guys who are openers, it's perfect for you. Yeah, it didn't last long. Like I was using reused Amazon boxes.
You could actually do this, but you have to have access to a regular amount of used boxes. Like what I mean is you'd have to live around the corner from another business that is a warehouse that is constantly throwing out boxes every day. That's the only way that this could work for you.
Boxes. I was using empty grocery bags to like be cushion. It looked super bad and ghetto, but more than that, it took so much time because it's like, all right, well, we're using a different box size each time based on whatever Amazon packages we have in stock here. It was just stupid. We didn't do it that long. We just said, no, we are too professional for this. Now we have our own stuff. It's so much easier. Speaking of easier, there was a time that we actually ran our packages every day to UPS and to USPS. And by UPS, I mean CVS, because they had a UPS drop-off site. And it was like, okay, well, we only have a couple packages, and Anna would take our kid, she'd put her in the wagon with the packages and walk into CVS. They probably thought we had some kind of a drug ring going, but eventually our toy ring got too big for us to be doing that. UPS Monday through Friday, USPS every day except Sunday. So that works out a lot easier, my goodness, because we end up having, on some days, each one of them can be picking up anywhere between 50 and 120.
Okay, this is a problem you want. It's good to be shipping a large volume of product.
Packages, especially on a Monday when we have a bunch of weekend orders going out. My fifth mistake was...
Okay, so one other thing about shipping, and I talk about this kind of exclusively, it's sort of my own little thing that I speak about is if you're an online toy store and you're shipping to people, there's a couple chances in there in shipping out the package in which you can market to somebody.
Was underestimating size, and this is kind of an embarrassment.
You can brand the box, the outside of it, which I know a lot of people don't like to do because, or don't like to get because it sort of makes your box shout, hey, there's something valuable in here. So, but that's a thing that you see a lot of people do. You see people have special tape or special printed boxes and stuff with their brand on it. That's number one. Number two is when you ship something out, you can always stick a piece of paper in there with a coupon or a sale or something like that. It's called sales collateral. And the third thing is you always want to do some type of brand loyalty, and the best way to do that is to put some kind of a thank you in there. It can be anything from like a piece of candy to a sticker to just taking the invoice and writing thanks on it. So that's called the marketing opportunities of order fulfillment, and I do some videos where I actually rate different online toy stores and see how well they do.
Meant to have screwed up, but it was a vast underestimation. We're currently on what I like to call layout 4.0, with 5.0 needs to come here eventually. Like, it's kind of funny to think that 1.0 I had one shelf and I thought that that was going to cut it in some way. I look back on that person now, I'm like, oh, look at you. Then I moved to 3 shelves. I'm like, well, this should last us a few years. Finally, I went to doing that entire area over there, and I'm like, well, that's it. We'll never outgrow this. Then we had the flood, and I'm like, all right, 4.0, might as well make this into like the best layout ever. And that's out of space. How long's 5.0 gonna last? Who even knows? Speaking of our flood, mistake number 6 is what I like to call lack of disaster planning. When we had our flood last May, we didn't have our business insurance set up yet. Yeah, that sucked. We also didn't have enough monitoring set up for an emergency like a flood. We're working out of a basement. I should have had more of an alarm system set up. Now, don't get me wrong, I had water alarms along the perimeter and I had one on the floor. But one on the floor wasn't enough because someone moved that one. Thanks, water heater repairman. And with that, we didn't get the alert. Now,
okay, so this is something that was given up in exchange for not having an official warehouse where you get up in the morning, put on your pants, you drive there, you go to work, and when you're done, you leave the warehouse, you leave the business, and you go back to your civilian life, that kind of thing. What's happened here is that Big Nerdy here has chosen to do this out of his house. He has chosen to give up personal space in exchange for a warehouse, and that way he doesn't have to rent a warehouse. He doesn't have that cost. He's running this out of his basement. I would expect a video probably at the beginning of next year from Matt in which he says, hey, we're gonna go rent a whatever square foot warehouse for Nerdzoic because we're growing. And I wouldn't be surprised because I see some other toy stores going down. Dorkside Toys went out of business. There was one other one that went out of business. The name escapes me, but I think you guys know the one I'm talking about. They were Christian QAnon people, which in my book, I think that's okay, but I think they're probably terrible at running a toy store. So this is part of the part of the exchange. If you don't want to pay for a warehouse, you want to do it out of your house, you're going to face things like this. You might face this in a warehouse too. There's always something that could, ceilings always leak, okay, in buildings, no matter what. Eventually they're going to leak. The longer a building stays around, the greater the chance that it's going to run down. You're going to have leakage and stuff like that. So it's always going to happen, but this is just kind of the exchange. If you want to do it on the cheap out of your house, not rent a place, you got to do this kind of stuff.
We're up to 15 different alarms all throughout the basement, along the perimeter, along the walls. They're everywhere. We're going to have a major early warning system. We have a good code red plan now. If we hear water in the basement at all, we immediately start moving the toys up the shelves, which thankfully this hasn't happened again because I also replaced the sub pump with 2 sub pumps and Wi-Fi systems, and it does a self-test every 24 hours, and it's continuously monitored. Yeah, I went a little bit nuts. Even the water alarm.
This seems a little extreme, but okay, I understand. You had a flood and you just don't want to go through that again, and it's worth it to spend the money up front than to spend the money in the back.
Are continuously monitored now. If one of these alarms gets a drop of water, I get a phone call within 10 seconds from SimpliSafe. It's pretty sweet. Mistake number 7 was our bookkeeping. And by our bookkeeping, I mean my bookkeeping, because I had that stuff jacked up. This is gonna shock people who work with me in the restaurants where I was a pretty darn good Excel guy, and I really was the guy who analyzed the profit and loss statement like a crazy person. Yeah, it's a lot harder to manage toys than food, it turns out. Food's pretty simple. You get it, you keep it, you sell it, done. You don't really hold on to anything that long because it's all got a shelf life. Toys, completely different. You're buying inventory with the plan to hold it for potentially a long time. Also in restaurants, there's no pre-orders.
So I would like to know the sales cycle and exactly how long inventory stays fresh from the time you get in your Black Series or Marvel Legends guys to when you sell out of it. How many days, weeks, months it sits on the shelf. I'd love to know that data. I think that'd be interesting.
And that's a lot harder than it seems because think about it. If someone's ordering something now, they're paying for it now, but it's coming out in spring, when do you track it as being sold for sales? What about profit? But you're not paying.
Corporations do this all the time to cook their books, to book future sales now, or
or till later. It becomes a pain in the butt. I started off using my personal CPA, and I thought that just because they charged me a ton, they'd be good at it, and it wasn't really great. Then I moved to a internet specialist that was literally just money burned. Thanks, Ledger Guru.
So guru generally means con man. It's kind of an ongoing sort of joke around here, where we sort of goof on the term guru. If you type in con man guru, you'll see tons of stories.
So I was able to get the brother of a friend who was a CPA, fix everything, and he discovered, oh, look at that, you owe a lot of money for 2022 when he did my return, so that was fun. If this is not your first time watching one of the videos here on Nerdzoic, and you happen to not be subscribed.
Okay, so that was a great video for people who like to see how somebody is able to take a business from scratch in their basement and grow it out. I think that this cat is an interesting dude. He always makes some really interesting videos on the resale market of a lot of action figures. I do a lot of eBay, and so even though I'm not selling a lot of times the same stuff that he's tracking, I do appreciate those videos, and I like hearing the numbers, and I like hearing his insight, and he always has a really good delivery for all these videos. It's great to see that he is holistic in running this business. He is able to admit his mistakes and go forward. And I think you know, I've noticed he's been stocking Joy Toy. If you don't know this, I'm kind of a super fan of Joy Toy 4-inch figures. And if Nerdzoic happens to get in the Joy Toys that I particularly buy, the Battle for the Stars figures, and some of the World War II guys, if they're ever available again, I think I'm going to become a customer. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks to everybody who made it to the end. And of course, as you know, I'll catch everybody on the next one.